All right, we're gonna get started right here. Good afternoon, fellow Liz. Welcome to another week. Here we are, Friday, April the 28th. Our club assembly day. It's terrific to see so many of you here for this important update on our club and a real chance to look at where we're going to be headed in the future. So today is World Day for Safety and Health at Work. It is Pay It Forward Day, National Superhero Day, right on cue, Clean Comedy Day, and Undiagnosed Children's Awareness Day. I'm pretty sure that's meant to refer to children who may have an undiagnosed condition, as opposed to people who may be children and not yet be aware.
I'm working on it.
Right. Some of us never outgrow childhood. That's it too. Yeah. All right. So as we begin, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one.
And as Rotarians, we try to live by the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it true? This is a favorite of all, sir. Will it feel what we feel without a conscience? Will it be better if it's not for all, sir? And today, for our inspirational message, we've got Joy. Oh, and Joy has a tiara. I love it.
Okay, so I think I've mentioned to you last year that it was everybody can sit down. My 69th birthday was last year, and I was going to celebrate every day of it, every day that year. So on April 1st, that was my last day of being 69. So I needed a new perspective. And that perspective came in the form of being 70 and being reminded of the 70s. So if you were alive in the 70s, I would like you to stand up. Some of you might have been thought of. Okay. So in the 70s, if you were in the 11th grade, 12th grade, or graduated, please remain standing.
In the 70s? Yeah.
If you were in 11th grade, the 12th grade, or older, remain standing. Or older. Okay, so I would like each of you to remember like the best time in your 70s. Okay, well, for me, I graduated high school, I got married, I had children, and they were the greatest years of my life in the 70s. So I'm choosing to go back to that time in my mind and be happy as I was when I was 70, in the 70s. Now, I'm not gonna go back and I'm not gonna probably, well, I might find the bell bottom pants, but I'm not gonna smoke dope for cigarettes. I didn't do that then, I'm not gonna start now. So if you were born in 1953, please remain standing. If you were born in 1953, in 53, please remain standing.
Before or after?
Well, before or after? In that year. I'm the only one. If you were born in 1953, please stand up. If you were not, then you can, you're born in 53?
In 53?
in 1953, no, that year. That will put you at 70 this year. Okay, if I could have my April birthday stand up.
Oh, April, you're all right.
Okay, so, Rob, what was your favorite moment in the 70s?
Surviving the 60s.
Surviving what?
The 60s.
The 60s.
No. No, you're living out of this.
Oh, yeah.
Surviving what?
Okay. And so Jerry, where were you?
Actually, I was in Okinawa and, we called it On the Rock. It was a great time. My service time was good. My wife was there. My first daughter was born. We had dual citizenship. Okinawa, which is called the Ryukyu Island. And so we were fine that year. Been a year.
So join me in keeping that philosophy. Oh, I'm sorry,
Don
Jerry.
Roswell here, he doesn't know anything, but he can tell us where he was.
Don, where were you?
What year came you in? What year?
Oh, would it be
1970.
1970?
And with me, my wife. Yeah. It's a big deal.
Very cool. So anyways, the 70s were a great time, and I'm just like, I get 10 more years of that great time. And so I'm hoping that that perspective will just continue on and that you'll remember where you were in the 70s. And just remember that times are great and you can bring them forward. So with that, I'd like to just read a little bit and then share my favorite birthday card with you. So if I rise with the sun in the east and settle in the west beyond the sea, even there you would guide me. With your right hand, you would hold me. And that's Psalms 139, 9 through 10. Moving on from anywhere can be discerning. A new circumstance, house, or even country means that we have to leave what we have been comfortable with and step out into the unknown. Take courage that no matter where you go, the Lord will always go with you. He is far east as the rising sun and as far west as the sunset. He will guide you as you move, and he will hold you when you get there. Now for the fun birthday card. This is a senility prayer. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's really funny. It's a old lady with a red bow on her shoes, and it says, the senility prayer. Grant me the senility to forget the people I never liked any. The good fortune to run into the ones I do. And that I say to tell the difference. Great day.
All right, thanks so much, Joy, and Rotarians and guests, please enjoy your lunch. We'll reconvene in a little bit and get underway with our club assembly. Thanks. Welcome back, everybody. So we've got a very full program today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And I want to offer just a couple of announcements as we begin. The first being that you might have seen in this week's weekly email message that there's actually going to be a Rotary Leadership Institute Section 2. So if you've already done RLI 1, you'd be eligible for RLI 2. And that's going to be offered through our own district here. It's going to be on the first 2 Monday evenings in June. I think that's June 5th and 12th for 3 hours in the evening. And this is something that if you are interested in how to use Rotary principles to help you improve maybe your involvement on a committee or position you for a leadership role in the club. Or if it's just something that there's a lot of transferable leadership skills that they teach in this training sessions that you can use in other aspects of your life, whether it's volunteering or at work. I would encourage you, if you're interested, to you can see me. You can also see Amy Vanderput. The cost is very low. It's only $16. And actually, the club typically will cover that because we like to encourage that members participate. So if you've got an interest, it's only 6 hours of your time. It's over Zoom. And I've done that course before. It was actually pretty worthwhile. So if you're interested, please reach out. And then I think Stephen Lowe had a quick commercial announcement here.
On your tables, you'll find a brochure starting Sunday and running through Thursday is the 19th annual Karen Schneider Jewish Film Festival. It's only $5 per person per film. We're starting off with a raucous comedy on this Sunday called Full Hummus Trailer. It's hilarious. I encourage you to come. One note, the last film on Thursday will be at 4 p.m. rather than 7 p.m. because we want to accommodate those people who want to go see that great Jewish jurist RBG. So I encourage you to come and see the films. They're fantastic.
Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And I also want to check in on any health and welfare updates. And I'm actually going to expand the little list here so you can see everybody who's on Zoom as well. And say welcome to our Zoom friends. We've got Dr. Ray there, we've got Joel Fike, Lynetta, and Ed Fletcher all joining us on Zoom, and as well as Joe Martin. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Glad to have you here. And any health and welfare updates either from the floor here or folks on Zoom? All right.
Well, Ed Fletcher is recovering from surgery. He's probably not going to say that himself.
All right, so I'll repeat it because the folks in Zoom here. So Ellen said, Ed Fletcher is probably not going to say it, but he's recovering from neck surgery. So we send our well wishes to you, Ed. He can show off his cool scar. All right. Any other health and welfare updates? Hopefully that means everybody's doing well. And I don't think we have any guests on Zoom, but we do have a guest here in person, a couple of them perhaps. And so Karen, I don't know if you'd like to stand and be welcomed and recognized, but we're very glad to have Karen Wilkinson back with us. And we also have technically still a guest, but hopefully not for very much longer. Welcome back. Thanks to have you here again. Any other guests? Not seeing any? Great. Well, welcome to both of you. And it's everybody's favorite time. The raffle. All right, where's Fred with his trusty bucket here?
And find out. We're only you talk about a way. I was only. I take. We've never been driving. Corruption. I'll leave that to politicians. No, I need an honest.
Oh, our treasurer, Becky.
Yeah. You can trust it.
I hope we can trust your treasure. Shall I draw?
Please, stir them up carefully.
All right, for third prize, we have 715-023. That's Brian Sanderson.
Third place.
Third place,
Okay, here, I'll draw.
please do.
All right, second place, we have 715-019. That's Jim Richardson.
All right, second place.
Yeah. First
And
place,
the winning first place, it's a crinkly one. 715-007. Oh, right, Dave Perry is the big winner.
Thank you very much.
We have, thank you, sir. We have an extra special birthday presentation. Here with our April birthdays is Jerry Noodle.
Sorry, Fred. Well, I think we go for small numbers, but we do it right, so. We'll announce the birthdays. We have a little surprise for him here, so. Joy is April 2nd. Joy, would you come up, please? And. Going down the list, Don Rockwell is April 11th. Don, when I said you didn't know anything, I meant you didn't know anything about today. Okay, here you go, Joy. Grab one of your cupcakes here.
Are you gonna light it?
Oh, yeah.
My hand?
Oh, here, you take
Oh,
the
boy.
cake. We'll take care of it. All right, Don, grab your birthday cake. And Rob Jewell.
Enjoy.
Rob Jewell is famous because his birthday is the same as mine. Grab your cake, Rob. There you go. All right. And I don't need that, so I'm the last one, April 22nd. So just the four, so, all
Cheers.
right, oh. Oh. The Rotarians always sing better when they're under fire. Okay. She's glad you're here now. Timed it perfectly. Okay. All right, Rotarians, it's time. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Being good April birthdays, we know where our bread is buttered, so we have extra cake for the President Elizabeth here. Take your cake, and also one for our district governor, Mike.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'll take his back there.
Thank you. All right. Terrific.
Good job.
All right, so the April birthday folks are definitely showing us a lot of pizzazz. Love it. All right, that's gonna bring us to our club assembly. So bear with me 1 second while I switch to the other presentation. All right, so as we get going here, this is just a brief outline of what we're going to cover today. So I'll start off by talking about the president's report. We'll have a chance to look at the financials that are projected for the end of this year. We'll hear a little bit about kind of the endowment, both for our own local fund, as well as some trends in given to Rotary International Foundation. And then I want to be sure that we really have an ample amount of time to hear from President-elect Anne Marie. She's going to be sharing about where we're headed and where we hope you'll join us as we move forward to the next year. Ellen's going to close us out with some kind of key reminders to be aware of. That's a way to stay connected with some information. And then we're going to set aside some time to really hear from you, any questions that you have about what's being presented. So to get us started, if you think back to where we were a year ago, our board had recently adopted a strategic plan. We talked about what some of the key strategic priorities were going to be for this coming year. And two of them have been introduced during these last, 9-10 months or so. One is that last year we introduced our pledge forms. It had a new idea called a service path to membership. That was part of our strategic plan and something that we rolled out for the first time this year. Some folks in this room took advantage of that opportunity to be a member by pledging extra service, which then reduced some of the financial cost of membership. So that was one big change that we tried this past year. Another is that we streamlined our committee structure. If you recall, before we had 30-some committees, we've now reduced that down to 6. And so we spent a lot of time over the last year developing a new committee leadership structure that every committee has a chair, as well as a co-chair who's somebody who serves on the board. And we've been starting to work to get those gears running so that committees are clear on what are their responsibilities under the new format, and then how do they manage their work to achieve some of the other objectives set out for the year. So the next few slides are going to start walking us through what that work has been for the committees, and really to kind of pat ourselves on the back a little bit in the areas where there's been accomplishments, and there's been a lot of those, and also to think about ways that we might be able to make it even smoother as we think towards the year ahead. So of course, the way it's set up, you've got the little Zoom thing right in the middle of it, but I hope you can see that this is the administration committee's work. So Jerry Hill has been the chair of that committee. Patrick Nasswell, who was initially on the board and had to step off partway through this year, was the co-chair for that. And one of the big goals for this year, as we sought to encourage people to re-engage, to get more involved with Rotary, was to do some social events. And so one of our goals for the year was to have a quarterly social event. And that's something that falls under the umbrella of the administration committee. You can see here some pictures from those. We started off tagging along with the Flint Sunrise Club on a kayaking trip, and there were some folks here who participated in that. And then we had a utterly fantastic time at the Flint Firebirds game, and I want to say a special shout out to Fred for having really coordinated that partnership and made that event possible. And then we had our chance to do a little fun outing at Market Tap that Joe helped put together, and several folks here again came to that. And then just last week, there were some of us that met up at Flint Institute of Arts as a way of piloting, kind of like, oh, okay, here, let's try connecting on a Thursday evening and have a good time with that. So those are examples of some of the things that we've started to do more of outside of our traditional Friday meetings. Administration committee is also involved in coordinating a lot of the logistics for these weekly meetings. And so you can see here some of the faces of the people that have really been integral to that. Lynetta Coney deserves like praise times 7, because if last time I checked, we had 12 months in a year, and Lynetta actually took the leadership to coordinate the programming for 7 of them. So I want to say a special thank you to Lynetta. We also had several other folks whose pictures are shown on the right there that have either been stalwarts every week, whether it's Terry with the registration table or Fred with the raffle. Jane did a lot of the effort this year coordinating fellowship, and I know that others have, including Jerry, have really stepped up to cover the last few months of the year. And then we have Rotarians who have agreed to pick up a month of programming. So certainly Jerry and Rob, as well as Amy and Kristen, all took on a month. So thank you so much for helping to share that load. And then you can see we have a lot of talent in this club. And this year we had, by my count, 10 different Rotarians that took time to share their talents, their professional talents, or their personal interests with the club. And so that's really helped to enrich the experience as well. And then a last part that I want to highlight for the administration committee is the work that Jean Dennis has done with assistance from District Governor Mike and from Victor George, that they have been meticulously going through our archives as staff and have really unearthed a variety of treasures, as well as helped us figure out what to let go of. You'll notice that there's a picture on the right of this kind of fold out accordion cabinet. This is just kind of a teaser today, but Jean Dennis has let me know that this accordion style cabinet, which has been used to showcase banners, is available. It is a quality piece of solid kind of handcrafted furniture. It could be repurposed maybe as a closet. That if it's something that you think you might be able to use, or you would like to go see if it's something you could use, it's a good enough quality thing that we would rather not junk it if somebody can find a use for it. So please let him know if that's something you might be wanting to look at. And then also this year we rehomed the Rotary piano. And I want to thank Elizabeth Cummins for helping to make that connection so that it can be played and used by a school rather than sitting in our storage closet. The service committee, this is another one where we wanted to try to activate and engage Rotarians. We had a goal of 5 projects throughout the year, At this point, we've completed 3 of them. We have one more that's scheduled with the Edible Flint group on May 20th. And then Joe and Amy are looking to schedule a cleanup that will date to be determined, but will happen within the next month or so, as part of probably working with the DDA for a downtown cleanup. So with that, we are making good headway towards our goal of 5. We're not quite all the way there yet. We have had, of course, the Crim Rotary Mile. We've also done some book packaging as part of the district literacy project, and then we've had a food bank, food sorting event. Also within the service committee is youth leadership. And so we've got 2 projects that we've been involved with. One is Rotary Seminar for Tomorrow's Leaders, and we've got 2 youth that are going to be going to Canada on Mother's Day for a weekend session, and our club has sponsored their participation. The second goal that we had this year under youth leadership had to do with Rotary. And so we had a Rotary club that was getting going, and then the pandemic came and that kind of went away. And so we've allocated some funding from the club in order to try to restart those efforts. Those are still kind of in a preliminary stage. And then the last thing that I want to highlight here with the service committee is just thanking everybody who has participated so far. Some of the folks here have participated in more than one of those projects. We had a goal this year of 25 Rotarians participating. So far from the first 3 projects, we're at 15. And so there's a your photo here part, because if you would like to participate and haven't yet, or even if you have and you still want to do more, we'd love to have you either at the Flint Day or as part of the cleanup that's going to be announced. So for the philanthropy committee, I want to lift up Joel Fike and Ellen Brother Eccles. I apologize, old habits die hard. As the chair and co-chair for this committee, as well as you can see Rob Bennett has been involved with the Polio Plus. Ed Fletcher has been working with the Flint Rotary Charitable Foundation, and Elizabeth Cummins has been working with our new projects. You can see we had 6 Paul Harris Fellows presentations this year. So hooray for everybody who has been working towards your Paul Harris Fellow. I wanted to honor everybody who had reached that mark this past year. For this next slide, I'm going to offer the chance for Ellen to come up as our co-chair to just share a little bit more about where they are headed in the coming year.
So probably our biggest accomplishment was just creating a new committee. So philanthropy committee was not an existing committee. And we moved some committees within that overarching title. So trying to keep it all nice and packaged together. So that was our first feat. We have a subcommittee chair for each of our, I guess I'll call it divisions. So Polio Plus, which, really happens more on the national level, but that's something that falls under our group. And we are looking forward to maybe providing a little bit more information about that throughout the year. We are going to be establishing a timeline so that throughout, our member meetings, you're going to hear more about it than just a couple of times a year, and maybe even learn a little bit more about Polio Plus. The new projects committee, Elizabeth Cummins heads that up, as Elizabeth said, and generally, it's usually like every couple of years that there's a big project to award, and so there was one given recently to the public library, so our balance dropped down a little bit, and so there was an allocation this year in the budget. While they field the ideas for new projects, probably next year will be a better year because there'll be a little bit more money for that. But that committee's been long serving and continues to watch out for things that Rotary can invest in. This year we had some extra money in the scholarship fund. There was some carryover. So we launched this special community project nomination from all of our members. Just want to say thanks again. We received 10 nominations for some projects. The philanthropy committee is meeting next week to decide who the awardees will be. So you will hear more about that. That probably won't happen next year. However, we'd like to maybe consider keeping this engagement with all of you in terms of who the scholarship awardees are from year to year. So stay tuned for more of that and think about staying involved. And I talked about our timeline, and then there's the signature event. So we haven't quite come up with a plan for that. This is to replace the golf outing. That'll be a big goal for the coming year, unless we can squeeze something in before June 30th. More to come.
All right, and so in terms of the Rotary Philanthropy Committee, we had some goals this year in terms of total annual fund contributions. We've set a goal of 9,000. We are $195 away from it. So we've still got a little bit of time left this Rotary year, and hopefully that's a goal that we can meet. And then we'd also had a goal of Polio Plus contributions, and I'm pleased to see that we've exceeded that now. And then also showing that we have had now one case of polio reported this year in Pakistan. So, so we're not quite there yet, but the trend is definitely good if you look at the history of those numbers going back over the last several years. In terms of the membership committee, I want to thank Jeremy Peters and Nick Godlewski, who have been working on that, as well as Dominique Clemens, who has newly joined the board and has been working with the membership committee with a real emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. You see the members of the committee listed there. And a big goal for this year had been a kind of a process one, and that was to really expedite the time frame between when somebody indicates their interest in a Rotary and when we can actually shepherd them through the application process. And so I think, as Dave Perry can attest, we're getting better with that. And so that's thanks in no small part to the membership committee's efforts. And then we do have 6 folks that have sponsored new members this year. Thank you so much for that. So we're just exceeding that target that we had set. And then we hoped to end the year with 100 folks. And that was kind of a significant goal given the trend that our club has had in terms of losing members year over year, as well as many other Rotary clubs. So I can say that right now today we have 95 members, but we do have 6 active applications that are in the approval process. So if all goes well as expected, we will actually meet or exceed that target. But that requires constant effort and not just getting people in the door, but making sure they have a good experience while they're here. And that's something everybody in this room is a big part of. And I am pleased to be able to say that I think people are having a pretty good experience when they come in here, and that you've all made folks feel welcome. So we'll try to keep that up. And then the last committee I want to highlight is from communications, and to thank Connie Peters and Marissa Pierce, who are the chair and co-chair for that. You can see these are kind of the conventional ways to be able to connect with the club on a regular basis. And they've done a good job, I think, of every week they're posting information, they're following up, and we're trying to get interesting pictures and stories out there to expand the reach. We'd also had a goal to have one media story about our club. And so Don Hedberg has been working with Mark Schillinger on featuring the Haiti water project. They have a draft press release, and hopefully that will be going up very soon. Because this is a project that's really significant. It's big, it's meaningful. And if you think about what's going on in Haiti, it has even added significance. So thank you to everybody who's had a hand in that process, and the entire communications committee. That these folks have really done a lot, not just on the Haiti water project communication, but also things like getting ready for the district conference or supporting the CRIM messaging around the Rotary Mile. So thank you to the team for that. The last thing I'm going to cover, I think, before I pass the baton here and do some thank yous, is just noting some important dates. So we've talked about the calendar for the district, mark your calendars, and I expect you'll be getting some information about registration very soon with that. You can expect that we'll have the pledge forms that will be coming out within the next month or so. And then there's some dates looking ahead, but we'll not dwell on those at the moment, because I want to really make sure I take time to thank first and foremost the board members from this year. This has been a tremendous board to work with. Folks have had to put in a lot of hours and time and focus in order to help us make this pivot. And so I really want to thank folks for that, especially President-elect Anne Marie has really just accelerated the direction that we're headed, and has brought a lot of energy to this process. So I feel that this club is in very good hands, and it looks to hand off to her We've also been very fortunate, I'll call it Ellen, that because of Patrick needing to step back, she's been elevated unexpectedly by a year. And she's just, really taken that on. And I know it can be a challenge, but she's, I think, really bringing the best foot forward into that process. And so I'm very grateful for that flexibility. And so many of the other board members have stepped up in various ways to try to help catalyze projects and keep things going. Definitely want to also say thank you to Kyle. He has been a wonderful source of mentorship and support, and he's there anytime I need to ask a question, and has really done a lot to try to set me up for success. Want to thank Amy. She's like always there in the background, but so many things don't run without her. And she's kept me focused and on point in a number of different ways. So thank you. And then I also want to say just a thank you to the past presidents that some of you have participated in the past presidents meeting that we had. Many of you have also gone out of your way outside of that to offer a word of appreciation or encouragement, or to just, it helped me gain confidence for the role I was taking on. And so gestures large and small that have meant so very much. And I am definitely indebted. Also indebted to those who have been willing to pitch in when I said, I have COVID, I can't come to the meeting. Will you please run it instead? And George and Kyle and past President Ray have all said yes. I want to thank the joke duelers. This was a lot of fun. And I appreciate each one of you for being a good sport and willing to do something new. And then everybody else, whether you had a role on the board or past president or not, just the encouragement that I've received from this club has been amazing. And each one of you is part of that. And I am deeply, deeply grateful. And with that, I'm going to let Becky talk some numbers.
Well, my slides aren't nearly as pretty. My clicker. Okay, so no pretty pictures, just financial numbers, sorry. So even though we're only towards the end of April, I guess, at the end of April now, we did some projecting of some numbers of where we think we'll end for this fiscal year. So just kind of giving you a little snapshot. Amy and I worked on this together to kind of come up, where do we think we're going to end up? So we did receive student and speaker lunches, 2,290 for the year, which was great. Membership dues, everyone who is a current member has pledged their dues or paid them. We have a few that we still are collecting, but we'll get those by the end. Meals, that number kind of goes up and down, depends on how many people come and how many people eat. Overall, though, total income about $50,000 for the club. Then we get to the expenses, and I know you can't all see that from there, so I'll just highlight a few. Our dues this past year made up about 45% of our dues income. The dues out, we pay about 45% for this year. We did get a discount of about 50% from the district this year. So they recognize that clubs are probably struggling and the dues were cut in half for this year, but that's not going to be true for next year. The meals expense kind of goes up and down depending on your meals income. That's one of our larger expenses. And it was 17,824 or anticipated to be that, kind of projected how many people come, how many meals are people eating on a weekly basis. Then we do have president recognition. We always build that into our budget so that we can recognize with a plaque, a pin. Amy takes care of all that for us on recognizing our president. And then our club administration is our other large expense for having someone take all of the burden off of us. So this is just kind of a recap. We budgeted for a deficit of $4,475, but we estimate that we're only going to be at $2,425, but still a deficit for the year. And mainly because we were given a credit on the dues from the district. So that definitely helped us. The good news is we do have total cash and savings built up over the years of 51,985. So while we don't like to see a deficit for a year, we know we can sustain it for a little bit, but as in anybody's personal finances, you know, you can't keep going in the hole, right? Eventually, you're gonna have to figure out a way to stop that. So that's kind of a quick recap of where we are with the club for this year in my anticipation. And next, Mike Chaffee will talk to us about the foundation.
Good afternoon, everyone. So talk about a little bit about the foundation. This illustration here is our foundation is funded from our membership, the $190 assessment that everyone pays. And it also is funded through the revenue stream we receive from the endowment fund at the community foundation. Add those two together, and that's how we fund the local and international projects and scholarships. Okay, so here's what we did. So last year in the foundation, through March 31st of this year, $18,306 came through member contributions. $250 came in for the Haiti water project. And I think there's some carry of $25,000 from a year ago that's accumulating to that balance. $56 in other income and $15,704 from the endowment fund. And I just saw that the check was written this week, so we should be receiving that anytime now. Expenses, as you can see, it's a percentage basis, and hopefully, Becky, this is the same percentages that I have. Scholarships make up about 28% of what we spend out of the foundation. International service projects, 7.5%, and community projects, 54%. So that's the revenue stream and the like for our charitable foundation, which was established in 1877. If you take all the funding that we've done over the years through the foundation, our impact has been over $1 million. Okay, endowment fund. That's managed by the community foundation. Last year, we had 43 gifts. It was down about 4%. Total giving was $7,775, which was up 5%. The year-end balance, and this isn't any surprise to anybody with what the market has done, was down 16.76%, which was a little bit better or ahead of what the market actually did. So I think last year we touted that we were over $500,000 for the first time. Well, the good Lord giveth and the good Lord taketh away. Grants awarded at $15,000 was last year's number, was up 8%, and 90 Rotarians have been recognized with the Jack Hamady Award. The total giving to the endowment fund, $337,000. So I have a goal in my lifetime to see that number over $1 million. And we're talking about that in the next year or so. Contributions to the Rotary Foundation. So over the years, the Rotary Foundation was founded in 1917. We have recognized 333 people with a Paul Harris Fellowship in this club, and 107 members have been multiple Paul Harris Fellows. We have 3 members of the Paul Harris Society, 9 major donors, and the major donor is someone who's given more than $10,000 to the foundation. 9 people have been recognized for that. We have 9 benefactors. Benefactors are people that have given at least $1,000 to the endowment fund of Rotary International. And so the all-time giving from our club to the foundation, $838,000. Give yourselves a round of applause. And I can't go back before 1998, but we've received back $246,000 in grants from the Rotary Foundation for private to support our projects. The most recently was the Haiti water project. I think we got like $50,000 from the foundation for the project. So those contributions that we give each year do come back and benefit the club and our projects. And if you really want to get involved in the numbers, here's the history. And you're not going to pay any attention to any of those, but we're pretty consistent. About 50% of our membership donates to the foundation every year. I like to see that to be 100%. And as I went around to clubs this year on my visits, I said, I don't care if you just give $5. But everybody, this is our foundation, and everybody needs to have skin in the game. So if you're not giving when the pledge form comes along, please consider so. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to President-elect Ann Reising.
Great day to be a Rotarian. Thank you all for being here. It's great to see so many of you. Well, we've been around for over 100 years, and that's pretty amazing. And it means that somehow we have weathered changes we weren't here to see, but changes we know must have happened, right? We know they've happened. And we are all familiar with what's gone on in the world since 2020. And all of the changes in habit from the pandemic, all of the changes in work, lifestyle, especially full-time remote working for many of our members, changes in family life. I can't overemphasize habits. There's been a lot of change, and change is good, right? And actually, a lot of this comes at the same time where our club is already changing. And maybe we weren't tracking it, or maybe we weren't measuring it, but we do know a little bit, thanks to the good work of, well, I'm sorry, I was supposed to do this first. So this is the incoming board. I'm going to come back to that. I really just wanted to talk about where we are. Are these my slides?
I'll be attaching for next.
Okay, I'll come back. I wanted to get to, I wanted to get to change. And the fact that we're part of a great club, and Elizabeth already went over a lot of the positives this year, is that we might be up one member in terms of exceeding our goal. But that second bullet there is the scary part. We actually need to be up 13 members a year to match our current attrition rate of the number of members that we're losing per year for whatever reason. So we eventually, right? We always think we're going to get there. Membership is, we know, is important to Rotarians. We do talk about it, but we're going to make it an even more visible part of what we do. And membership attraction is going to become really even more core. I think thanks to Elizabeth for everything she's done. The lift in terms of actually implementing all of the new committees has been huge. I think she really kind of didn't underscore enough really what that meant, you know, that big ship in a small harbor, kind of turning that around 30 committees to 6 committees, making them all work, figuring out how that works has been a great thing. And it has streamlined what we do. And I think it's made it easier for us to really come together as a board and focus on some of these big things. So I wanted to get through some of the data that came to us. We're in this with a lot of clubs across the country, maybe across the world, with the data, the points that you're seeing up here in terms of growth factors for clubs are from clubs in the United States. We want to be a growing club and not a maintaining club. And I think the reason for that is because clubs that are growing are doing things together differently. That makes our life together better, not just in the relationships we have with one another in the community different. It's not about numbers. I don't want to turn this into just a numbers game. It's really that if we're doing these things, we already have all of the attributes of a growing club. And what is exciting about this list to me is that way before me, with George and Mike and Kyle, we've moved into this strategic plan that has us really positioned to be a growing club. Leadership succession. this is not, I mean, we should celebrate this. I don't know who started doing it, but we don't, not all clubs have a real leadership succession plan. They're scrambling at the last minute to know who the president-elect is. I already know that I can work with Ellen all year. And that's a gift someone has given us. I don't know, but I thank you, past presidents, for making that happen. One of the things we talked about, and we've been talking about it actually for a couple of years, is that growing clubs offer alternate meeting formats. The meeting structure that we've had for as long as I've been a Rotarian has been our fourth Friday. It's actually in our bylaws. But growing clubs recognize that these habits of many younger members, younger people, the kind of community members that we'd like to have in the room, will require more change in meeting formats. All members obsess on membership. I think, and I use that word carefully. I mean, it is, we have to obsess on it a little bit more than we are. And I think that, again, the cool thing about focusing on all of this is some of the structural changes will encourage and enhance our ability to talk to new members. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've talked about it. We thank Dominique for really stepping up and leading this in the membership committee. But growing, and again, this isn't just to put it up there, the clubs in the country that are growing look like their communities, whether it be gender, whether it be age diversity, whether it be race, they look like their communities. We're the Rotary Club of Flint, and so we have work to do there. And I think maybe the most important thing that comes down, it's not toward the bottom of the list because it's not important, but attracting new members is all about really being engaged in service in the community. Our public profile is raised. And it's not raised because we're sending out press releases, it's raised because we're doing meaningful service. So moving on, because I do want to get back, and I'll end then with the people who are going to help make this all happen next year, is these are the three major things that we're suggesting for next year: a new meeting structure, new membership categories, and dues structure. Voting for these changes will require bylaws changes, so we'll actually have to vote. One thing that changed last year that has not been changed in the bylaws is we adopted a strategic plan with a new meeting structure, and that alone, I think we've worked it out for a year, is actually something that we will introduce when we do introduce bylaws changes. That will be part of it. So this is what a new meeting structure could look like. Y'all get to vote on this. I wasn't here in December when you all met at tables and talked about all the possibilities, but many of you presented many of these ideas. I want to thank Joe Martin and Nick Godleski because they put the lion's share of work into that meeting and also sort of gathering all of the data. We've met together in ad hoc committees. The board has met multiple times in discussing this, and we met with the past President's Council a couple of weeks ago and shared all of our ideas with them. So we'd like to institute a meeting in the first week of the month. It's actually a service meeting. Second and fourth Fridays stay right here, we hope, and in the same structure with a great speaker and our traditional format. Thursdays, getting off of our Fridays very intentionally, because we know a lot of members can't join us on Fridays, would be social networking, but it would be a little bit more intentional around connecting specifically with organizations and groups, whether they be other service-oriented clubs or entrepreneurs who just started businesses, but would be very intentional networking around getting people to know us one-on-one. And we'll talk more about what that could look like. Fifth Friday, we'll have a lot of people who love Fifth Friday. It does tend to be very optional because it frequently does fall on a holiday weekend, the Friday before a holiday, which excludes a lot of us, but we have a very nice social gathering that's very impromptu at the White Horse, and that location, I don't think is set in cement, but so the why, some of the why, and I'm gonna segue back to Becky and then come back. Some of the why is in the budget, right? So declining numbers mean declining revenue, mean changing things that we have done certain ways and no longer able to do necessarily the same way. We've been very, very blessed to have a club of a size that has always had a club administrator. I'm sure you probably know that most clubs do not. It's really rare. It makes what I do possible. I'm sure every past president here could probably attest to that, the amount of support you get. For those of us who do have still work, go to work every day. You know, it's really made me taking on this role possible, and Amy's, I can see that she's still here, and I really wish everybody would just thank Amy for everything that. Let's segue before we finish into what the proposed budget might look like.
So worked on maybe what does this look like, given the fact with maybe the proposed change, right? Maybe we only have lunch twice a month, second and fourth Fridays. So I kind of built that into this budget. So I kind of took a look at the average number of people that are coming to lunch, built that into our meals. So I based this budget on dues staying the same at $250 for dues. Number of members kept it at 100, very optimistic that we're going to stay at that 100 even once we go into the next year. Number of meetings, Amy and I looked at the calendar, said, okay, if we did second and fourth Friday, how many of those fall on holidays? So where we traditionally don't get together if it's a holiday weekend. So that would be 21 meetings in person for lunch. I estimated our dues out to the international and district going back up. So total income about 41,000. There is a fundraising event in there that we're estimating would generate about $3,000. So kind of the replacement to the golf outing, if you will. The next is total, kind of what do our expenses look like? We've got built in here Club Runner that costs us about $900 a year for Club Runner. The accounting software we use is QuickBooks, and that's at least $550 a year. That now QuickBooks has decided to charge an annual fee. You used to be able to just buy it once and use it until they, like we have clients that used it for like 6 years and before they would upgrade. Well, now it's more like a subscription based, and you have to renew it every year. So we built that into our budget. Credit card fees are another thing, and bank charges. Those have gone up over the years. And I don't want to say not to do it. Honestly, I don't carry cash myself. So we may actually want to invest in something where you like a little machine to swipe your card as you come in versus Amy having to get out and use the Square. So then speaking of Amy, that brings me to Amy. Amy has given us the desire that by the end of Anne Marie's year, she will be moving on. And I'm doing different things in her life and not being our club administrator. And I know it just saddened me, but I completely understand Amy. She has been with us for 15 years, dedicated. All of these Fridays for 15 years, except when we let her go on vacation. Which she won't be here next week. She'll be on vacation next week. But yeah, so we have been very blessed to have the club administrator for as long as we have. So I have left a budgeted item for Amy, but as a club, we're gonna have to figure out how we move forward and what are there things we have already started a list of all of the duties Amy does for us. And there are some things on that list that certainly can be taken over by volunteers. There's some things on that list that we probably do need someone who's in a paid position or at least volunteering that has the accounting knowledge to be able to do the work that Amy does. So as we move forward, I would expect to see changes in this budget, but know that we're going to be calling on the club and we're going to be looking through those duties and seeing how we can fulfill that. You know, if you think back, we're at like 100 members. When I joined, we were at 250 members. So it's a big difference, you know, and we have to figure out how we're gonna continue to grow and move forward without Amy. It's not gonna be easy, but we're gonna do it, and we hope she comes to visit us. So my proposed budget was at a negative 4,839 for the year. And like I said, we have that 50,000 in the bank, but we can't sustain this continually. So I think there's gonna be ways where we can find ways to cut moving forward. And maybe part of it is we change that position for that club administrator. And I think, Anne Marie, it's back to you. So.
Club structure. I think I do remember the very first time I saw our membership form. And this is a new membership form. We're going to send this out in a PDF with a draft watermark on it. So you can all really peruse it by email and really look it over. There are a lot of changes on it. If I move from this, there's no pointer, right? The first column, is there a light thingy on this? Oh, gosh. Oh, sorry. Probably not felt the lights on. So this first column is what you used to see all the time. The numbers for the most part haven't changed. We are suggesting that because we are proposing doing half the meals, that the recommended minimum contribution for meals was cut in half. But other than that, this column hasn't changed for a long time, and we're proposing the same thing. What we have talked a lot about, though, is the idea that we have a reputation, well deserved, maybe we're proud of it. We're a check writing club. We haven't been a service club. This column kind of shows it. We have had the busiest, most accomplished and highly regarded leaders in the, maybe in the county in this room. That's something to be incredibly proud of. But we have a lot of younger people and younger members who I think might be in this under 40 age group, who probably aren't here yet in their careers or their lives or where they are growing their families or their businesses. So we are proposing this under 40 membership category. A lot of clubs have done it. We've talked with Ann Arbor. They've been doing it for 10 years. They have 12 members under the age of 40 that they believe they wouldn't otherwise have. They've also been in that 10-year period very good at retaining those members, so they get accustomed to the meeting structure, the networking, the service, and they grow into club membership and becoming full traditional members. A second category here is the service path. This is not new this year, but we've tweaked it maybe a little bit. We want to be flexible in giving our membership folks how they define this, the service requirement. And I'm not going to get into the details. I'm going to send you two pieces of, two handouts, two things that you can look at that kind of define this little part up here that says minimum 10 service project hours and what that could mean. But the idea is that there's more service than check writing, and that there's many of our members who might, and new members, the members who aren't here, who might have more time than they have resources at a certain time in their life. And this would be good for them. When we had that meeting with our past presidents a couple of weeks ago, we showed them these first three columns, the under 40, the service path, the traditional path, and we had a very robust discussion about the why not a legacy membership. We know that we have a lot of members whose lives change as they hit that retirement age, but are still very fond of Flint, very fond of the Rotary in general, and they might be able to help sustain the club through loyalty, full membership through their standard $440 contribution a year, maintain a suggested minimum contribution, and they maintain full membership without the requirements of service or meetings. And we intend to go back to some of the people we've lost that show up in that negative attrition rate and ask them if they'd be interested in maintaining a legacy level of membership to be able to continue supporting the club. The other couple of things on this form that you'll note when you get it is that, and this is really other than we actually have in the bylaws that our dues are due on a specific date, and there's a good reason for it. It's because we pay dues to the district and we pay dues to Rotary International. We are suggesting that we change that so that we can allow people who really want to spread out their payment over the course of the year, authorize and pledge, sign pledge authorization to charge their credit card monthly. That's a binding pledge. We know we have very honorable members, but we know this would really reduce the financial barrier for a lot of people. Destigmatize this idea of, you know, it was very standoffish, I have to say, on our current membership plan. If you need a payment plan, please talk to Amy. You know, a lot of people need a payment plan. A lot of younger people with families and things coming up might need, just let's normalize it. And then the other thing we do in acknowledging it, though, you can still use your credit card, because Becky pointed out, a lot of people have been using credit cards for quite some time. If you pay in full with your credit card, we love you. You're going to get a little benefit for paying in full and taking that tiny bit of risk away from us and paying in full. But if you prefer to spread it out over 12 months, give us your credit card, automatically charge your credit card monthly. We will tack on a very small 3% fee to help cover that. And I think that's just fiscally responsible given where we are with the proposed budget that Becky showed. So that there are a lot of big changes here. I think they've been very well discussed and hashed over and tweaked and changed and edited and no, all of these numbers, right, have really been, well, how about this? Is that enough? You know, is that charitable contribution too high? I think we're really trying to attract more members. So there's been a lot of discernment, and now we need yours. We need your eyes on this. We need you to really reach out to us with questions. It's your club. It's your club. You have to adopt it. But what I think is characteristic right now of our club is we are a club of a lot of past presidents. It's fabulous. But my goal would be to up the ratio of non-presidents in our club. I'm sorry, I love you all, you know, but it's true, right? Because that's actually when I whipped through, because I knew we were going to be limited on time, the growth factors of a club. There's actually a description of our club, and it's called the Past Presidents Club. And we fit that description, right? And we love you. I'm going to be one. Elizabeth's going to be a past president. I want to honor that, but we need to tip the scale. We want to tip the scale. I'm proud of being a Rotarian. Don Rockwell and Woody Scaff brought me in. That alone means a lot to me. I wanted to be here for another 100 years. I wanted to be growing. A growing club is a meaningful club. So I know this is a lot, and it's a lot of change. I hope you'll all embrace it, and please really look it over. No question too stupid. Email me, email Elizabeth, email any board member. Let's, get all of your ideas out in the air and your thoughts and misgivings. And we've been doing some of that. We've been doing it for a couple of years. And somebody said accelerating change. Somebody else has said ripping the Band-Aid off. And I think there's a little bit of that. But I think it'll feel good as well. So thank you.
Right. I think we're gonna skip over the staying informed part. I can certainly email out a copy of the PowerPoint, and if Ellen wants to highlight some of what we're not covering through that, at next week's meeting, we can make time for that. I do want to, we'll do questions and answers. I want to be sure to show this, because this is an important part of our year as well. So I know that we're kind of right up and maybe a few minutes past our normal time. And so if anybody needs to get up at this moment or leave, that's perfectly fine. But if you do have any burning questions or initial reactions, I want to also create space here so you don't have to hang on to that for a week. So if anybody has a burning question or something you need to say, then this would be a great time for that. Yes,
I
Jerry.
have one question, on the proposed organization, we have 2 regular meetings, a month, basically. Are we gonna have speakers?
Yes, so the notion would be
Well, those-
second and fourth Fridays. It would be just like we're doing it here.
But
So
there's
people-
no other speakers required.
Right, so it would reduce the burden for the people programming that month to have 2 weeks that month of a traditional program.
Right.
The other weeks would be 1 service and then 1 of those connect. Any other questions for right now? Okay, I know that was a lot to take in. We will give you time to digest that. You'll notice we're not asking you to adopt a club budget today. We're showing you kind of what it looks like without any other adjustments. The board is going to continue to work on that proposed budget over the next couple of weeks, and then we will present that final proposed budget to you, as well as proposed bylaws changes that reflect the shift in meeting structure and monthly payment options that Anne Marie has outlined. Okay. That then, I'm gonna ring the bell, and I'm gonna wish everybody well. I'm gonna express appreciation for everybody who helped out for today's meeting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, friends on Zoom.